From the shadowy depths of the city, where justice and mystery intertwine, emerges a broadcast as daring and vigilant as the masked Avenger himself. You are tuned in to the Green Hornet Case Files, unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
A little bit different setup than we normally have. You look frightened.
A little bit different. I am frightened.
So I need an adult.
I think I have to go to the bathroom. I'm Greg.
And I'm Kory.
And this is the Green Hornet Case Files.
Episode 13.
13.
Lucky number.
Which is really pretty exciting. We have had so many, again, as we've said every time, so many great comments from people, and we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all, of course. We've also had some pretty wild
stuff
going on.
Yeah, we had, last episode was Jim Beard, and Jim and I have continued to keep chatting.
So did you notice that Jim gave us a little shout out on Facebook?
Yes.
Put it up and said he appeared on the podcast with Greg Martin.
Uh-huh.
Jim.
That Gato is over there. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm really.
But
sorry.
No. I'm just playing. You know me.
Yes, I did notice that, and I was going to call Jim out about that.
But much appreciated.
Yeah.
that he's sharing in the info, and
it is. You're gonna have to send out your own business cards, dude.
I'm gonna have to. I got to get my own.
Yeah.
Your little sting cards. I need my own version.
Your own version. Call them stink cards.
But first off,
yes.
Did you just get a phone call?
Yeah, no, it was. I just got an email from somebody probably going, "You guys shouldn't talk like that." No, episode 11 before that we did the French film.
The French film, yeah.
And the French film sort of had a life of its own. We've had probably more downloads of the French film episode than any other episode.
Really?
Really. And I don't know why, other than it's just the video is really cool.
Yeah.
And as we talked on the show, I tried to get a hold of the director of the film prior to.
You'd been trying to do that for a while.
Yeah. A couple of different times I tried to reach out to Aurélien, and I'm sorry, buddy, if I butchered your name, but I don't speak very much French. And somebody on the Batman 66/Green Hornet forum suggested that, I look at the IMDb, and he hadn't had a credit in a few years. So, maybe the guy's dead, or he's out of the business, but
it's where you were going with it.
That's where my brain went. So then I went to the next fella down who played the first actor, Britt Reed.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, and I can't remember the last name. He goes by Manu, or however you say it in French. I don't know. Manu. And
it's better if we don't try until we're actually told. Yeah. Just saying.
My one semester of French class in my freshman year probably isn't going to cut it. And I reached out. I noticed he had a website. He has become a stunt coordinator for film,
which is what we talked about a lot in the episode. We
did
the fight scenes are what make it so good.
They're absolutely fantastic. Well, that's his job now. He's a fight coordinator. Still does some acting, but he does the fight stuff. And through his website, I sent him an email, and almost immediately got a reply back from him that he copied the director Aurélien on.
Who is not dead,
and is still very excited about the fact that we did that episode.
They've listened to it.
They listened to the episode. At least Aurélien has. I don't know if Manu has, but Manu has said, he's 53 now. That was 2006.
Yeah.
So he's a Hornet fan.
Fantastic.
He was a Hornet fan from day one.
This is going to be good.
Yeah.
This will be good.
It really is. I've asked them if they would be on the show, and I think it's going to happen. So we're going to do part two.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
You knew I was going to do that. So at some point in the future, the biggest issue is it's like a 9-hour difference.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
It's a 9-hour difference between us and them. And we'll have to be like in the studios here at like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and they'll be like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And we can do that.
We can do that. Wine and cheese kind of thing, or...
Oh, I don't know. We could bring in the wine. My apologies to my French fans who aren't French fans any longer.
So I'm over the moon about this.
It's really exciting, and they're excited about the fact that we were talking about it, and that excites me.
Yeah. And that's when cultivating the stoke is all we've been trying to do, and that's
really truly,
and it ends up coming back to us so much because we get so excited about all this stuff.
And I don't know if I mentioned this prior to recording the episode with Jim, but I have had a couple of phone conversations. I did mention this. I've had phone conversations with some very special people in the realm of the Green Hornet.
Yes.
And I keep kind of stoking the fires that this is going to happen. We've got some other really cool things in the works.
So much so.
Yeah, really is. For everybody who always asks, no, there's no DVDs yet. There is no plan at this moment to release a DVD set like they did the Batman set. And no, we don't have any information yet on the movie, although there could be very soon.
Really?
Some news.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Of course. Yeah.
Anything else, and lawyers are going to be knocking on the door.
And avoiding anyone whose name ends with Esquire is just part of our thing.
Exactly. And one other thing that we missed, and I feel bad about this, in the last episode with Jim is, and I know this episode will drop on, I believe, did I say the
12th?
The 12th of September. Is that the 12th of never?
Sure.
Whatever works. As long as it's not Donny Osmond singing it, it's okay. Sorry, Donnie. I love you, man, but it's.
I don't. I'll put that out there.
Yeah. On Monday, the 9th, is that what I said?
Monday is the 9th, yes.
Monday is the 9th.
Yep.
It's the 58th anniversary of the 66 Hornet premiere.
Heck yeah.
So, happy birthday to the Hornet.
3 days ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Or whenever you're listening to this, you'll just have to kind of play catch up.
So Cash's birthday, my son, is the 8th. So the Hornets TV birthday being on the 9th is something I'll be able to remember.
That's kind of cool, yeah. And what you should do is for his birthday, make him watch all the. But you said
that seems like a good thing.
You said, which is we're dragging ourselves into this episode
with the topic.
Going to be just a little bit of a strange topic here, but you said you were watching it the other day. Were the boys watching with you?
They came in. What was funny is I put it on while my wife was getting ready for work. Mm-hmm. My wife, who's a whole human being in her own right, she came in, and she, not a Hornet fan, not really interested. It's just not her bag. That's fine. She comes in and she looks at the screen, and I had paused it because I was going to talk to her. So on the screen is Britt and Kato. And she goes, "Who's Kato?" And I said, What's Bruce?" And she goes, "Bruce Lee?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "I didn't recognize him with the mask on." And I was like, "How?" But she's like, for years she had complained that the glasses and the Clark Kent thing. She's like, now I guess I kind of get it. The mask actually did make me not recognize him. as soon as I started playing it and he moved, she recognized
and everything.
yeah. But the initial pause screen with the mask on. Now, also to her credit, I've watched a lot of other Green Hornet stuff.
Yeah.
So she never knows what particular
exactly.
iteration I'm looking at. And so that wasn't, but she didn't recognize him with the mask on. And that fed back into, you were like, I got an idea.
I got an idea. And if you don't recognize me, I'm Greg from the podcast. I just want to make it clear.
That's a big old Although I'm bummed I didn't bring my Kato
It's a big reveal. You should have brought your Kato.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
But this begs a whole conversation of its own, is the idea of the masked vigilante, which goes back a long, long way.
Yeah.
It really does. And the whole Superman glasses idea, and everybody, intelligent human beings, we look at it and we go, that's just Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Or it's Superman wearing glasses and he's, playing this Clark Kent character.
Little curly Q.
Yeah. But there is something to the idea of when Superman, we'll get this figured out.
Correct,
here.
yeah.
When he puts on the glasses and he puts his hair back, or however it is that he's slicking it back, super spit or whatever.
Pomade.
Pomade. Super pomade.
That's right.
Yes, you too can have your very own.
I don't want fop, damn it. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Can we beep that part out? When he affects the role of mild-mannered reporter,
Clark Kent, yeah.
everything changes. His body dynamic changes. His clothing, obviously, he's not, Supermaning it.
Right.
And
in a much more subdued
the introspective
presentation,
kind of person. And you look at, Britt Reed, Kato, at least in the 66 version, is always kind of wearing the houseboy outfit.
Yeah.
The butler kind of thing.
The white tux coat.
Exactly.
Right.
And Britt is always wearing, just kind of casual tie or, something of that nature, sometimes a suit.
Yeah.
But just a very standard 1966, looking clothing. And then they affect the characters of the Green Hornet and Kato, and your whole being changes.
Yep.
And it's interesting as a cosplayer, and my friend John can attest to this. Is as soon as we put the costume on, not the contest, the costume on,
you carry yourself differently.
I do carry myself differently.
Yeah. And
whether I have a mask on, you've in front of you is the 1940s
right
mask.
There.
And
I'm going to take a quick pause in this conversation and point out to the people listening to the audio podcast, the whole reason we're making these reference points is because we're also doing it on video today.
Video.
Sorry, we never brought that up.
Didn't we?
For the audio listener, and I appreciate you.
Very much so. So yes, if you're listening to this on Spotify and would like to see what I'm pointing at, you can go to YouTube right now and check it out. The 1940s mask was a full face mask,
which I love. I love this design. It's so cool, and it features prominently on Jim's book, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the cover is that. In fact, the new Dynamite comic book that will be
with
out
Miss Fury.
With Miss Fury,
yep,
is also going to feature the 1940s full face style mask. At least that's what the teaser pieces, the press release that they've sent out.
Well, they showed like multiple covers, and it looks good.
Yeah.
But I'm derailing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The idea of putting a mask on, and here's another wrinkle that just popped into the old gray cells, is that in the 1940s when they did the serial, and we've had this conversation before, is that George Trendle did not want to lose the radio listeners when the actor, and I can't pull his name out right now,
Right.
When he put the mask on, they didn't want it to be that actor being the Green Hornet.
So they used the radio voice.
Al Hodge, the radio voice, they use. So as soon as he puts the mask on, he becomes the Green Hornet, and the voice changes, and they use the Al Hodge voice instead of whatever the actor's name is. And
right.
I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Which is, well, it brings a different gravitas to it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can't have, what's his name? David Proyer, I think his name was Proyer, that was the dude in the Darth Vader suit.
Prowse,
yes. And it doesn't work. You
no, because his voice, he kind of had this little...
Exactly.
It just didn't work. I don't know if, and I don't remember which version it is, but there is a version of Superman. I don't know if it's the George Reeves version, but where as soon as he pulls apart his coat or his shirt, this is a job for Superman.
Yeah.
So it's that whole, vocal change happens for the super guy too.
Well, it's not just like we've said, we got the physical presence, a vocal change. It's not just the mask, but you look at it and you go, well, it's just a guy changing the mask, and therefore I would obviously know it's him. Yeah. But when you got, especially if it's not that, you get that gravitas that comes in and. You can do it much better.
Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't got that.
But you look at that across all of those characters. Batman the same way. I mean, Bruce Wayne is just a guy. He goes to parties and everything is great. I'm Batman.
Yeah, and then it gets the gravel. Yeah.
So there is a physicality to the characters that goes beyond putting the mask on, and I do believe there is a certain, I guess gravitas would be the word there too. Putting the mask on to creating this character that maybe you can't recognize. Was it in The Shadow? When the Shadow movie that they did here a few years back.
His face actually changed when he put the mask on.
His face changes.
Yeah, his nose grew a bit, his jawline changed.
So what is it about the idea of putting a mask on?
Well, okay, so the perfect example here is we are exposed in a way that I'm definitely not used to. You a little more so. You're used to being in front of the camera. I'm not. But there is something like I was thinking about as soon as I put the microphone in front of my face.
You're okay with it.
My ease came in, and I can get into the groove and we can do our thing. And it's I've played on stage before. I've never had stage fright. Those types of things never bothered me, but I always had my guitar to hide behind. And so it's like that confidence booster as well, psychologically, coming from the mask or, the hat or the cape or whatever it happens to be. Your presence you have a security blanket. Mm-hmm. And that's a weird thing to think of for a superhero, but like without the mask, Spidey changes. When Peter Parker comes out, he's not Spider-Man.
With all these pimply problems and everything.
And so if you if you think about, specifically the cinematic versions, whenever the mask comes off, his ability to be Spider-Man is affected right then, immediately and noticeably.
I guess the question then becomes, is that enough of a physical change, an attitude change, an overall change to the presence of this person to make something as simple as that make them unrecognizable?
I I think literature, film, arts have proven to us that it is.
I think so. This was my birthday present, or my Christmas present this year from my dear wife, who knows that I dearly love all old things. This was the precursor to the Green Hornet.
Right.
Was Jimmy Dale, the Gray Seal.
The Gray Seal.
The Gray Seal. And so you see in this copy, he's wearing, basically, it's a domino mask kind of a thing.
Right.
And that was the Gray Seal. He put on either a mask of something like that, as I bump into the microphone, or he, oftentimes in the book, it talks about him pulling out a piece of silky fabric that he would just sort of, drape across his face. Kind of like we would a COVID mask or something. And that was enough for people to not recognize.
Same with Zorro.
Yeah.
Zorro had that alternate with, he'd have the mask, he'd kick the mask off, he'd have the face covering, like the black silk face covering. And it's that dichotomy. It's exactly the same thing, but I'm just trying to think of other examples of it when Zorro popped into my head.
It goes back to, and we had this conversation. One of the very first shows was discussing the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Yeah,
the Ortsey written Scarlet Pimpernel.
The first.
Yeah.
Well, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
And, Scarlet Pimpernel really isn't any different. It's time-wise different than Jimmy Dale.
Right.
The same upper crust kind of person that, just...
The archetype template.
Yeah.
For sure.
They don't put on costumes per se, but they all put on a mask and maybe a hat, and then they go effect their justice.
Right. And it's the thing is going back to how we originally started this conversation with the story with Snow seeing Bruce.
Yeah.
It is enough to not recognize. How many people recognize you day 2 at a con when you're not doing the Lantern, when you're doing Lost in Space or Star Trek?
Yeah.
Does anybody do you get anybody go, hey, I saw you yesterday?
There are those that will.
Okay.
Obviously, there are certain characteristics.
Yeah.
Facial that this doesn't cover all the
right.
things.
But some, but probably not most.
That could be. It could very well be that there's people that are like, oh, you were here yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, I took pictures with you.
You did? Yes, actually you did. I just find it fascinating that this whole topic of being able to conceal oneself in the open.
Right.
And that's always fascinated me, as being able to be a stranger in a room full of people. And I love the idea.
It is. Well, there's something kind of enchanting about that idea as well, being able to move without anybody knowing who you are. The reverse of famous, I guess.
I guess.
You know what I mean? It's like the exact opposite is what you're going for. Anonymity, but I guess that's the word I should have used to begin with.
Well, yeah. Case in point, though, is you get celebrities, very well-known celebrities, that will put on a pair of sunglasses and maybe a hat.
And it works for a lot of purposes.
Really
not everybody.
Does. Going through the airports and so forth. And yeah.
Yeah. It's, and that's actually funny because we've crossed paths with plenty of famous people.
Oh, yeah.
And unrecognizable in the day-to-day. And that's I'm not saying anything bad towards anybody. I'm simply saying that I can see that being a huge boon.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, and I just ran into Kevin
at Comic-Con.
At Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, and was as close as you and I are. Kevin was in Kevin garb. Kevin was wearing the oversized coat that's 14 sizes too large for him.
Yeah. the denim jeans,
the
or jean shorts.
And the hat on backwards.
Yeah.
He was in Kevin mode. Had he have not had that jacket on, just a T-shirt, and not had the hat on backwards, even if it was still on but frontwards, Kevin probably could have walked into any restaurant and had dinner and nobody would have known.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the when you create, the character has a uniform, when your public persona has a uniform, when you remove that scenario, it does a lot to pull away from recognizability.
Yeah.
And that's...
It just completely and totally fascinates me, the whole idea behind the masked vigilante and how much mask is necessary. Obviously, they cut down the mask from, the 1940s version down to this.
Yeah.
It's Van Williams. Come on, is there a more handsome man in the world than Van Williams was? And
you need that jawline out. You don't need it covered by this.
And Bruce, handsome man.
Right.
Both of them just gorgeous men. And I say that with all confidence in myself. Thank you. And why would you want to cover that up? That's one of the reasons why Bela Lugosi didn't want to be the Frankenstein monster.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that worked out. We got Boris. We got Boris. I like Boris. But what I was, it's when you adopt a persona, when that persona comes out, we've talked about this series of what would it take to be the Hornet.
Yeah.
Legally, psychologically,
physically,
combat.
Yeah.
This is just another aspect of that, is you have to have a persona that stands on its own if you're going to be successful in these endeavors. Because without the mask, Britt Reed goes to prison.
Exactly.
I mean, just straight up.
He really and truly does.
And so you have to have that persona to be a vigilante. Like, once that veneer is broken, you're liable, your effectiveness is gone. You become, obviously we've seen it in other superhero or hero situations where the reveal becomes detrimental to those around you. Like all of those types of things, the mask is imperative to it, or it doesn't work at all. That's my opinion anyway.
Just another example of this before we don't want to beat this horse too bad, is that at Comic-Con, the day that I was there in costume as the Hornet, and people asking me for my picture, and my friend John and I in costume as Batman and the Green Hornet, and you're in character.
Yeah.
You are in character. The next day I went with my friend Heather, who I was not in costume. I was just wearing, my film company T-shirt.
Right.
And she was in costume, although she'd had a malfunction with her mask. She didn't have her mask on, so she felt kind of undressed.
Exposed.
Because of it. But when people came up and would say, "Could I get a picture with you?" in my brain, I'm like, sure.
Yeah, because you're still reacting the way you would have yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not in costume, so obviously you don't want my picture. Okay, all right, I'll let you take a picture of the pretty girl. Okay, so
there's something to be said for the ego that just still maintains. You're like, oh wait, me? No,
no. Maybe I should use the gas gun a little more often,
Yeah, occasionally.
Want to thank John for providing a couple of the props here. The factory entertainment sting and the gas gun and the Kato dart.
These are so cool.
Yeah, they really are. We're supposed to have a conversation with the guy from Factory Entertainment, but we haven't figured that. You haven't heard that story
You hadn't
yet.
told me that.
I'm sorry. Well, there's a little reveal going on right there. I did run into him at Comic-Con, and he mentioned at the time he's a huge Hornet fan and would
Fantastic.
like to have that's the reason why they made them.
We have so much coming up. It's the lineup is stacked.
It really and truly is.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many cool things. I did want to point out, I don't know if we can get a shot of that, but and I think I got some schmutz on it, so I'll put my hand right here. The wonderful T-shirt that was handed us. You didn't wear yours today.
So the reason was
is
it's
got smudge on it.
I didn't want to be with it, the embarrassment of wearing the same dress to the ball. Uh-huh. That's not true. It was in the laundry.
Yeah, you got schmutz on it. Didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. I just looked down and realized I got schmutz on myself. So. But thanks to Mary Kay Johnston for passing these on to us.
We gotta talk her into making me a hat. That's what I want. It's a green hat with that logo.
Conversations about some fun things. And if you don't know, Mary Kay Johnston is the granddaughter of George Trendle, and has become a fan of the show and a friend of the show.
Which we're. What's funny is we've said this before, is I am so overwhelmed by the amount of people this actually reaches that, I really thought we were going to be talking into the wind for at least a few episodes, and out the gate, we've had such a crazy response, and the amount of people that are like, yeah, we'll talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just a couple of schmucks in Washington.
Jim mentioned that last episode, the number of people that we've had on. He kept dropping names, and we're like, yeah, they were on the show. Yeah, they were on the show.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, the number of people that have been on already.
And thank you, all of you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are, we're very grateful.
Yeah.
Grateful is the word. And I think we're going to kind of wrap things up.
Okay.
On this for this episode, because I could still talk for hours, on masks and so forth, and
we will,
and yeah, probably will keep talking later on. Don't have a clue what's up next week.
Okay,
next 2 weeks.
We got and then, but we have lots on the docket.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we sure do. And again, thanks to Aurelian and Manu for reaching out to us. We hope maybe we can get a better copy of the French film out there for you. We'll link the French film again in the show notes and the making of.
Right.
If you speak French, you're okay. If you don't speak French.
There's still some cool stuff to look at, some behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's worth watching.
Quality on it is still, I think it's, $240 or $260, whatever.
It's not great, but it's not bad. It's not the worst thing.
So we'll link that in the show notes. And with that, I think we're ready to...
We are out of here.
All right.
Let's
ready?
roll.
Let's roll.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure, where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.